Hello, welcome to episode 166 in this series where I'm programming an NES game live on Twitch from scratch. Before we get started, I only just realized, because he told me, that Drozrix, who is in chat frequently, is doing a Kickstarter for Copper Jacket. So, if you have not seen it, you should check it out. If you have not backed it, like I have not yet, you should definitely check it out. Always cool to help support the homebrew community here, and as always, there are many different options available. So check it out if you can. Back it, obviously. If you can't, don't feel bad. Everybody's got different situations going on, but figured I'd plug that because, you know, it's good to support the community. So, last time we finished the process whereby we were exporting the metatiles from the PNG file, and we talked about how at some point we might want to be able to do a bunch of different files and a bunch of different PNG files, I should say. And as a result, it gave us a new tile set that we can use. I'm going to discard all that. A new tile set that we can use that is actually metatile sized, and then that makes it much easier to work in tiled because we can work in 16 by 16 tiles. And we had, I'm just going to overwrite this, it doesn't really matter because I was just messing around with that. And then we now have the ability to do something a little bit more representative of what it's going to look like in the game, instead of what was going on before, where we were using the 8x8s and then it was dynamically generating the metatiles based on the 8x8 tile assemblies. This is going to be easier, and then it's going to give us the ability to also have some sense of how the metatiles are going to be numbered so that we can use them later for things like the repeat scroll process, which we need to know, like, you know, what are the tiles that are going to be used for that process. So what I'm doing right now, I am just gonna do some basic metatiles all over here. This might even be too large, but just want to use this as maybe our, well, you know what, let's do a smaller one just for the sake of not going too crazy. It's 16 by, let's do 100, let's say. You can even do less though, let's say 70. Something that's a little bit smaller. Oops, wrong tile. All I want to do is put in some things that are little features in it to make the water look like water. And then I want to also add something from the tile set that will be easily visually recognizable, so that gives us a clue as to whether or not things are working the way they're supposed to. So what I will do is I will grab this strip here, and then maybe I'll just grab this here, maybe like this. It's not particularly It's not really super important that this looks great or anything. This is just for the sake of putting together something for testing purposes and for us to just kind of get a sense of what's going on. And I'll probably copy and repeat that a little further down the map as well. Let's see, that was what? That's this. Oh, I see. Is there a bottom part to the forest? This, yeah. I don't know. It's spending way more time than I probably need to make this suitable for testing purposes. Just looks like there's maybe we're missing like a good bottom part there, potentially. But then we have the forest part here. That looks good. Can I use that instead? That looks better. Alright, that's good enough. So let's grab this. We'll do the same thing over here. So like this is the good thing about using tiled, right, is it has all these sort of capabilities in it already, rather than building a one-off tile editor. Let's see if there's something we can do to kind of specifically differentiate this area from the other one that we just kind of messed with and copied. I don't know. I'll put some water over here like that. Maybe we'll put the fountain there like that, and then this won't have that, just to visually differentiate it so that we can tell that this is kind of working. And then I don't know, just floating floating building with some road. Whatever, that's good enough. We don't need to go crazy on this. The point is to just have some variety of stuff on the level here for it to look good. And then let's see, so let me do this. I'm going to save this over. Well, actually, before I do that, don't worry about the red. That's just because we changed that PNG that it was using. So can I do what I was hoping here? Layers, object layer, I don't think the name actually matters, does it? It's just objects. It does matter. Okay. So, cool. So then, oh good, I'm able to just copy. That's cool too. So I'm just able to copy this and then move it around. Again, not super important that we have any sort of rhyme or reason to what we're doing other than to just like make sure that it's distinguishable while testing so we can see that it is working as expected. Okay, great. So that's that. I'm going to close this. I'm going to rename this to save over. Oh, what did I just do? Okay, that was weird. Wait, what just happened? Okay, that's weird. How... Yeah. Oh, that's weird. I never noticed that there was that project thing on the left there. Anyway, so we're going to save this over map1.json because we don't care about that content right now. What's more important is that that's what we're using. So, all right, we have this process, PNG to tiles, that's going to generate those metatiles. We can actually literally just kind of move all of these to here. I think we can get rid of these. Eventually they'll be necessary for the new metatile files that we've generated, but those are the old ones. Alright, so now that we have these, the export process was actually doing a process where it was composing those. We don't need that anymore. This is this process here. And we can probably get rid of... We'll comment out this code for processing the discovered metatiles, and then all we really need to do is check to see if the files that it, or the metatiles it's looking for, those files exist, and then yeah, let's see. New map index, I don't think we need that anymore because that's used for this only. So this is what loop? This is this. This is within the tile layer. So, okay, so all of this can go away now. What we could do, I guess, is we could check the existence of those metatiles in here. We are checking to see if it's compressed or not. We're getting the data. We're checking if it's the palette layer. So what is this doing? This is... don't remember if this is... I don't know if that's being used right now. It's probably not important right now. Alright, so we go through, and if we're not processing the palette, we're looping through and we're converting to uint16s in this map buffer by doing this get, which is fine. That's what we wanted. And then metatile map is no longer necessary. Where is that defined? So this isn't necessary anymore because it is essentially the metatile map now in the map data that we're pulling out of the file. So this can go away. That can go away. So what we can do while we're in this loop is just check to make sure that this exists already, that the metatiles exist already, and obviously we don't want to check the file multiple times. If it exists once, it should exist multiple times. So what's funny, it added these files into the project, or it's showing them under the project. We'll have to make sure those go away at some point here soon. I mean, the simplest way to do this is just a do we have any constant for... Yeah, we do. What does that end up being? 100. That's not going to be big enough. Hey, how's it going? And this is just an array of booleans. And basically all we're going to do is, because the metatiles are numbered, we can just basically index into this and say, you know, if it's false, we didn't find it, or we didn't check it yet. If it's true, then we checked it and it existed. If it's if it's false and we check to see if it exists, we're going to fail. I showed my parents a 0-page video and then uploaded to its stream. They said you have the best voice out of anybody on YouTube they've watched so far. If it were 30 plus years ago, I'd have a career in radio. Well, that's very nice of them. Thank you. Okay, so let's do this. If map, no. File check cache, map buffer. You forgot to say the standard joke of well, you certainly have a face for radio. File check. If not file check cache, then we're gonna check to see if what is it called? Is it just called system hooks? System hooks file exists. I gotta create the file name. Okay, so file name. it is going to be metatile %d dot metatile, and right, so that gives us our file name, and then we want to check if the file exists, and if so we're going to say we're going to do this. We're going to say assert map buff. No, sorry. File check cache max. No, that's not it either. I got this. So we are going to assign, right? We're going to assign the whether or not the file exists to file check cache, and if it's false, that means the assert's going to fail, and then that's going to be a problem. Next time through, it should be true. When we check that, we only want to check that it exists one time. All right, so dare we try that? Oh, you know, the only other thing that we need to do, actually, I wonder about something. I didn't think about this here for a moment. If I erase this, it's 0. No, it's just considered empty. What does that store in the map? I assumed it would be 0. It is 0, so they are already off by 1, or they're already 1 indexed. So this is 1. This is 1. If I save that, it has a value of 1. Oh, so that's weird. So the value that it shows in the bottom is 0, even though it's 1 when the data is saved. Okay. That's fine. That makes it easier for me, because that's what I wanted it to be anyway. Cool. So I don't have to do any adjustment here. Let's take a look at this. Oh, I didn't save my command from previous. It was in Notepad and it's gone. All right, that's fine. I'm pretty sure this is right. Find out in a moment. Hope everybody's having a good evening. It is, as I said, it has been pretty busy. It just continues to be. It's like every time I think I have a moment where things are going to slow down, it gets, it just gets busy again. I don't care about any of this stuff right now. Just compile, please. All right. Let's see if we hit that breakpoint. Oh, you know what, though? There's a problem, and the problem is that I rearranged the order of the maps. Well, you've probably got a lot kind of going on behind the scenes with the Kickstarter, Drozrix, so I'm a little nervous about that, because obviously I've made it no secret that I at some point want to you know, release this game on Kickstarter as a game people can buy, and I know just a little bit about the, you know, behind the scenes that goes on, and it is definitely concerns me about the amount of time and energy it's going to require. But that said, I'm excited for the idea of it, so yeah, it'll be fun to do once I get there. I'm like really trying to make a push to get this whole thing done. Let's see. Specify metatile file specified in the map could not be found. Oh, did I? Yeah, it's stressful and time consuming. Best thing to do is plan it out way ahead of time. Yeah, that makes sense. What is it talking about? The metatile file specified in the map could not be found. Shooter assets image strip test.json. Huh. That's the tile set. Which it really honestly doesn't even need anymore. Yeah, you missed the beginning. Drozrix is doing a Kickstarter for his game, for his NES game, Copper Jacket. So I was just talking about Kickstarter in general. Oh, so it's going to be looping through and looking for the tile sets here, which I guess it doesn't really need to do anymore. Like, what are... I know I'm validating some stuff here, but what else? What else am I doing? Like, if I comment this out... Layers. Oh. This is because of nested comments. Spoken like a true accountant. Alright, so that got rid of those errors. Let's see if we make it further now. Yeah, okay, cool. Because we don't care about the tile sets that the map is bringing up now, because now all the meta tiles are just generated by the export of the PNG to metatiles, which should map up nicely now to the map. So let's take a look at file, check cache. These are all false. So first time through, we're gonna generate our file name, which is metatile11.metatile, and then we're going to check if it exists. It does. That's great. So that actually worked the way that it's supposed to. And then what we didn't actually look at was that the value is 11, so we're not even bothering to check if the file exists anymore. We're just saying, okay, it's already here. We know it's already here. We verified it, so let's move on. No point in wasting time looking for something that we know we just found. So let's go to the next one that it's looking for. I'm sure it's going to be fine. Let's just make sure. Yep, and 54, it got set to 1 here. Okay, cool. So we shouldn't run into any problem where it couldn't find the metatile that it was looking for. These aren't the metatiles you're looking for. Alright, so that brings us out of that. So now we have the object group in the layer, so we're going to come back up to here. Cool, so you can see it updated that memory with the different metatiles that were actually in use in the map and confirm that they exist. And we didn't hit a problem. What we can do, just as a quick little check to make sure that there's nothing goofy with the code or some condition that I didn't write properly, we will remove 54. We know that that is in use. And there we go. And we hit an assert, and that is on 54 because it is not there. Great. So that is good. Very good. So now we can move forward with the confidence of knowing that the metatiles are all there. Sorry. I ate some almonds right before the stream, and a little piece was driving me crazy just now. Alright, and then we have the objects that we're going to process. Spawn point. So all of this stuff is good. This is going to replace, this would replace the map with the metatile map, but we don't need to do this anymore because we already have everything. Yeah, it looks like we're not using the attribute grid at all, but that's fine. So all right, so now this is actually generating the metatiles we already generated and reindexing and all that other stuff. The only thing we need to do we really need to do now is let's see. In this process, what we were doing was we were taking a look at obviously the content. We were taking a look at the content. We were re-indexing the image to match a particular palette. But the more important thing was we were doing that by looking at the palettes that are available and remapping, finding a palette that matches, meaning that the colors are there in that the colors exist in the palette that we have. Sorry, I'm sidetracking myself looking at the code and trying to explain. We want to make sure that the palette that we got for the metatile matches a palette that we have already. And then what we want to do is we re-index the image using the palette that was a match. And then after that, we update the metatile to use that new palette, and then we update the final metatile with the new indexed image. But we shouldn't have to do that separately anymore. So we're going to kind of write some code here above this to do the same work, but it should be a lot simpler now, I think. Possibly. We'll see. One thing I do want to do, we have this nice little array of the metatiles that we checked to see if they exist. Let's use this later on, because that means that we can just loop through that and check for any metatile that's set to 1 in here, or true in here, and then if it's true, we can open the file, load the metatile, check it against the palettes, remap it, and then save it. I think I'm okay with us modifying the metatiles that way. I mean, the alternative is we save a secondary set of metatiles with new palettes, but I feel like that is, let's see. Maybe we do that. Because depending on what palettes we have loaded. Well, this gets into that whole tricky thing of some stuff we've talked about before, where it's possible that we might want to, you know, have a map that uses more than the base 4 palettes that we load into the beginning, and then that only works using our palette swap object. So then does that mean we should, you know what, I'm overcomplicating it. Let's just assume that all of these tiles that we're going to be using are going to stick with one of the 4 palettes that we have for the background until we don't, because then we can solve that problem. If I try and solve that problem now, it's going to be a mess, and maybe we don't need it. Maybe those 4 palettes have all the colors we need, and anything else we're going to do, we can do through a palette swap, and that's fine. All right, let's not over-engineer this any more than I already have. So, yeah. So let's go through here, and we're going to do a loop. And we're just going to say if what is it called? What the heck did I call it? File check cache. So if it's true, so if it's true, we're going to create our file name buffer. We're going to load the metatile. We're going to look for a matching palette. Oh, it's doing it with an image. I guess that doesn't poop. What is this? This is getting map palette, which is an array. So this is reading the palette file. There's the JavaScript properties. We have these palettes. But what is this reading? This is reading file. Get the type, make sure it's a map. Get the properties. Oh, but that's of the... That is of the map itself. And what is it reading? It's reading 16. So it's reading all of that from one palette file. I know at some point I had been messing around with a palette file in NES Screen Tool. I thought, though, oh, this is the full palette. So it's just shooter.pal is so okay, so in the map, I forgot about this part. So in the map properties, I had added this. Is it .pal or .palette? Where's Screen Tool? Oh, it's in the base folder? Okay, that's... Move this into here. Alright. Yeah, I totally forgot about that. So if we go back to this, where is it? There it is. So it's going to have palette shooter.pal, which it then is going to load. And then, okay, so then load map is using that for find matching palette, which is just, I guess, using, yeah, it's just going through each of the 4 palettes that are in that palette set. All right, so, I closed my relevant windows. Okay, so the problem with this is what? That it's going through, it's looking at the indexed image, and it's expecting an image. It's not expecting a metatile file. Let's create a version that will take a metatile, because that's just indexed data anyway, so it shouldn't really be a problem. Pretty sure it's going to be basically the same code. Because it's indexed, so alright, so this will allow us to find a matching palette based on a metatile, which in theory is what we want. So it should be able to give us a matching palette value, and then it'll fail if it's -1, which meant we couldn't find the palette. So let's do this. I'm not 100% sure on the outcome of this this check here, so rather than speculate, let me just run the code and take a look. We don't need that breakpoint. So map palette does have data in it, and we're going to load the metatile, and let's see. Yep, that got loaded okay. Matching palette has a -1. So, oh, I know why. So the problem is that okay, that makes sense. That's not hard to fix. So the problem is that the metatiles, the way they're indexed, is based on what's in their current in the metatile file palette. So this is just looking for the palette value, the raw palette value, which isn't going to work. But it's a simple thing to fix, because we can use this value to determine what the value is in the palette, because it's going to be one of these, and then use that as our check. And that is the same thing we want to do here. That's going to give us the actual raw NES color palette value, not the re-indexed for the palette value that's either 0, 1, 2, or 3. So may still not work, but at least, all right. Okay, so let's do this. Let's take a look. This is our map palette. It has 1, 2, 3, 4. It has 4 palettes defined. Yeah, 4 palettes defined. And then where is another memory window? Memory window. Memory window. Here's memory window 2. And if we look at M, let's say image, you can see, like I was saying, it's just going to be a value that's either 2, 3, 0, or 1. But the palette is going to be what we're looking at. So we want a palette that has 0E, 10, 20, and 2D in it. Let's use Screen Tool for the purposes of looking at this, just because it's probably easier for everybody, maybe even for me, instead of looking at the numbers. So the palettes are, oh, I wish it would actually say what the entries are. So 0E is, oh, that's weird. Actually undoes the load. 0E is like a gray, right? Or it's black. It is not showing up in here. 0F. Black, 2D. 0C. 0D is obviously no good. We don't want that. Why is 0E not showing up in here? Alright, never mind. That was not, clearly not going to help me. So maybe this isn't the right palette. Maybe this isn't the right palette. I thought this was the right one, but it definitely would have had... Oh, wait. Yeah. Yeah, it had the black color as the... Oh. Well, no, it shouldn't. It shouldn't have the black color as the first entry. So if we look at this, 0E12, why on earth is it showing 0E10? What value is this? I is 1. All right, let me load that metatile. For some reason, I thought the first one it was going to hit was 11, but clearly not. All right, so 0E, 10, 20, and 2D. So 0E is the black color for the outline there. And we don't have that. Yeah, so I don't know that this palette is actually what I was using. What was I using? Assets. Was it just this? No. It's definitely not large enough. Or maybe it's interesting. Maybe it's something that I had not touched in a while. Oops. I really wish Windows would stop near matching file names for me. Like I asked for star.pal, that's all I want. I don't want .palette. If I wanted that, that's what I would have asked for. It's really aggravating. So shooter.pal. Oh, maybe it's water.palette. Nope. Let's see. Are any of the other ones... There are a few others that are 16 bytes. I don't know. I feel like it was probably just the shooter one, but I don't know why then the colors are not what I was expecting. Because they don't match. Is it because it doesn't like... It's almost right. Let me see something. Is NES Screen Tool messing with my palette file? Not the ROM. Shooter.pow. Come on. What I don't get is why is there some sort of setting that I'm missing on why it doesn't like 0E? Crap. Let's try something. Is this being backed up? (2019). Way to drop the ball, Carbonite. All right. Let's see if this has a more recent copy. I don't want to report a problem. I just want you to load. Maybe you can do that for me. Okay. Let's see. Backup. Recover files. Oh, this is also not super helpful, is it? Wow. Let's see. Projects. Shooter. Shooter.pow. Where I just saw it. Where did it go? Literally just saw it scroll by. Sorry, I know you guys can't see this, but just bear with me here for a moment. Shooter.o, shooter any broken NES, right palette. Where did it go? I could swear I just saw it here. Assets. Shooter.json. Sorry, I'm bumping the mic. Map1. JSON. Are you kidding me right now? Backup version. That's the most recent one you have, you piece of junk. Okay. Well, that is frustrating. Obviously, I need to pay more attention to what's going on with my backups. But don't we all? Alright, so this is really aggravating. because I don't feel like screwing around with recreating palettes right now. And I thought this was working. These colors look basically right, except I think 0F, and then why isn't it letting me use 0E? Like, I don't understand. I thought 0D was the one that nobody should be using. So why are you restricting me here? So 0E, manually do it. I don't know that this is gonna save this process, but let's see. If I don't have to rebuild this palette from scratch, that would be nice. All right. Ah, okay. So now it found a matching palette. So was that all it was? Let me go back to Screen Tool for a second, because yeah, see, it actually changed the color to 0F. Let's investigate this, because this is, I am not happy about that, and I want to know why. If we're using 0E and we shouldn't be, that's fine. So, like, there it is, that's 0E. But again, I thought 0D was the one that you're supposed to be avoiding. Canonical black is 0F or 1D. 0D should not be used. It results in blacker than black signal, which may cause problems on some TVs. It works this way because of the way colors are represented in NTSC or PAL, with the phase of the color subcarrier controlling the hue. And then it's like, here are some games that actually do it that you shouldn't be doing it. So it doesn't say anything about 0E. I don't know why Screen Tool is not letting me use it. If you know why, feel free to chime in the chat or comment in the recording on YouTube if you're watching this after the fact. So, okay, so we got a matching palette there. And then I wrote a bad assert, which is fine. Let's just make sure that we have similar success with the other metatiles. What? Oh, yeah. So matching palette is 2. Great. Matching palette is 2. Good. Matching palette is 2. Matching palette is 2 here as well. What is I set to? So far, they've all really liked palette 2 is what I'm seeing. That's a palette 1. Oh, here's a palette that does not match. I want to grab the code that I have here that prints out the colors before the assertion, so we can see what the problem is. That was actually pretty useful, even though it was pretty stupid and primitive. It got the job done. Alright, so in this case, what we want to do is we want to take M And we want to take dot image, and then this is all the same, but what we want to say is m.palette this. This could be a bad color translation in the metatile. We have seen that before. So let's go back to screen tool to just look at the palette colors. Oh, that's not really, I guess that's not really necessary. So what metatile is this? This is 7. Oh, I didn't set it up in this one. Alright, so 7, 0E, 0C, 29, and 37. So let's go back to any of these will be sufficient. So we have 0E, 0C, and then what's the other? 29 and 37. 29, and then this is 2A. I'm going to guess that 2A and 37 are probably pretty close. We can look at that here. 2A and 37. So 37 is this. Oh no, it's not that close. Okay, so what? $37. Do we have 37 in? We have it in this. 37, 22, and 2A. 37, 22. 22 is what color? It is this blue color. 37. Wait, 37. 22, is that blue? 2A is that green, and then 0E. So is it that is there another use of 0C? That's the only other palette that's the only palette that has 0C, but the other colors don't match. So like 0C, is that dark green? And then 2A is a light green, and then 29 is a lighter green. So yeah, that wouldn't work. 0, 1, 2, 3. I wonder. If there are other palettes that would match better or similarly. Or maybe the palette, let's see, it's that sand color, the green, and then we need like the dark green. Maybe I just need to update the palette to to make it work, because other parts worked fine with this, but then the sand comes in, and I don't know why that light blue is there. So I'm going to say that we probably just want to update the palette file, and instead of this being, what's that blue? Is it 22? Yeah, so instead of being that, let's make this 0C and save, and then let's rerun this until we get to the next one. Alright, so was that the one we just did? We just did that. Why? Zero E29. Where are we? 0E. Oh, 29. 29. '29 is the light green. What do I have right now? 2A. Instead, let's make this 2A and save it. So, I mean, while this is a little bit tedious, it is also kind of helping us identify what's going to happen as we move forward in terms of, like, problems with our content and the tooling around it. So this is metatile 9. So this only has the blue and then the sand. So wait, that's the wrong file now, right? Because it's under assets. Okay, so the blue and the sand, except this is not a match for anything. That's just the sand. Which is 37. So that's the only one. So we got to change the water color to be, what color is that? 0C instead of 12, which is that right? Yeah, I think that it's actually right. If we go back to the ROM for a second, we'll see, we can confirm that. Actually, that's what I should have done in the first place, I think, because I haven't rebuilt the ROM, and the palettes will be loaded into that. Sorry, I just had to plug in the NES controller here because it was plugged into the actual NES. Why aren't you picking it up? There we go. So PPU viewer, probably could have just done this in the first place. Okay. That was silly of me. All right, so 0E. No, so what we did was we said 12, oops, 12, 37, 22, 0C, 12, 29, 2A, 0C, 12, 2D, 1020, 12, 3C, 2D, 20. Okay. I could have done that before. Sorry, I totally didn't even think about that. But I'm not even sure. We'll see. We'll see if that has any appreciable effect on the palette matching. And then we'll wrap here. So already we have a problem, and it is because, what is this? Metatile 1. Zero E1020 2D 0E Oh, because I didn't use any of those. I didn't use any of those metatiles in the map before. Okay. Let's not do that for the sake of expediency here. Let's get rid of that. And then I'm also going to hi, can you what are you doing? Oh, because I'm using the rectangular thing? Okay. Ignore the fact that that looks weird. Let's restart. So the problem that it's running into is like the palette for the gray buildings. We don't have that loaded because there is too much. There would be too much stuff. So let's see what's going on here. So I is 6. Wait, why? Oh, because that's the first one it found. Okay, and the matching palette is wrong. So 0E29, 0C. 0E29. What is that? It's this. 0E29 and 0C. So it's only those 3 colors, but we don't have those in our palette because we opted for some different ones for 29 and 2A. So 29 is fine. 0C is this darker green. And what was the other one? 0C. Is that it? And then 0E is the black color. So it's really just 3 colors. So it should just be using these 3 or something like that. Okay, so should we just change that palette to match those 3 colors there? 12, 29, 0E and 0C. Does that solve it? Let's see. That fixed it for that metatile, but not for this one now. 0E, 2A. Well, this was the one. Isn't this the one that we just looked at? because it doesn't have any blue. So it's got 0E, 2A, 0C, and 37. So it's got too many colors. Because it's got the sand in it. And one of the colors is the water background color. Okay. Let's just eliminate those for the sake of moving along. Let me see if we hit. Let's do this. 48. What's up with 48? Oh, it's another one of these where there are too many colors. I should have seen that one. That was just a simple miss here. Okay, so if I eliminate the ones that don't have too many colors, then obviously it works, which is good. I mean, that's what we wanted. Now, the real issue is there are a couple things. One, we've got to like I was saying before, we got to remap the metatile to match these palettes. I got to think about this a little bit more. This is the challenging thing about the metatiles on the NES. It's obviously you're really limited to. Everybody always sort of says 4 palettes of 4, but it's really more like 4 palettes of 3 and a background color. So 12 colors and the background color. So that means the tiles themselves are limited to 3 colors and whatever the background color is going to be. And so the thing is, it's possible to do what we want with these background tiles. Let me revert these back so it looks decent again for a minute here. So it's possible to do what we're saying here with the various colors and tiles that we have, because they all individually obey the rules related to what's possible with the NES color palette, right? The problem is that in combination, like if I bring in now the building tiles again, we don't have enough color combination palettes to handle the buildings, because if we look at the palette visually for a minute, the building tiles here have the gray, the dark gray, white, and black. So they have 4 colors, right? We have gray, dark gray, and white. But we don't have a black color. And we need... Is it possible to make this all work by shuffling around some things and making the background color black? Possibly. But I don't know. Right now it seems like we actually need all the colors we have. Like if you take a look at this palette, this is representing one of these forest tiles, right? It's got the dark green, the light green, and black, and then you have the background watercolor, which we can't do anything about. That stays, right? And we also have these tiles that are the forest colors and the sand, right? So you have light green, dark green, black, and this sand color, which again, it's technically 4 colors, but we only really have 3 because we're using the blue for the background for the water. So when we want to have this tile, for example, it's not going to work because of the fact that we only have that sand color in one of the palettes, and it's only in the palette that I guess has grass and a little wavelet and sand and water. Looking at the colors that make up this palette entry. So that means that we need to be able to support I think it just means that we have to... Some of these tiles are going to have to get modified. So like this tile that has the green fade into the sand, and then we have the sand into the water. Realistically, because of the palettes that we have, it's going to have to be green all the way to the boundary of the metatile. And then in the next one, we can have the green. But that doesn't work either because we still need the black for the forest tile color, right? Or no, that would work because it has the dark green for the grass, it has the black, it has the light green. That's all we need for that. And then for the sand one, it has the sand, it has this 0C color, which is the same as the forest dark green. It's got the little wavelet color, it's got the background. So that would work. So yeah, so if we changed it and just made sure that the forest bits never overlap with the sand bits, that would fix the problem. But then further, you know, we have the other issue of like, we've got these whole other tiles that are not going to work because they require 4 colors, and we can't make that happen. So probably what we would need to do, we could, in a section of repeat scroll for like the grass, we could swap the palette, swap the palettes over to allow for the city palettes, right? So make the green, have it be green grass that we're scrolling over for a short period of time. Swap in the palettes for the city, the grays, the gray colors, and then switch over to the map that includes the city tiles. But as it stands, like I said, with what we have here, even though the individual tiles themselves don't violate the rules, the fact that we need to have because these need to have 4 separate colors and none of them are this blue color, I can't. Is there a way? I don't know, maybe there is a way to remap. I have to look. There might be a way to remap it so that works still without changing the images, but could you combine palette 2 and 3 somehow, omitting the light blue? Yeah, I mean, that's possible. I mean, because what's happening is this palette, that first palette here is this palette, right? And then the problem is that the sand color can't fit into this forest palette set here. So one thing we could do is we could say, okay, well, we'll never have those light blue things here, like the little pieces of the wavelets, because then we don't need that color there, and we can put the... No, we're still short. We're still short because we still... The colors used to make up the forest are too they're too many to make it work. I mean, the easiest solution is, like I said, just make this green part come up to the edge of the metatile, and then have the little, I don't know what you call that, the feathering or whatever that then is on the sand here end on these tiles, right? And then there's no problem because we have all the colors that we need here. We've got the green for the grass, we've got the light blue for the wavelet, we've got the yellow for the, or whatever that color is, for the sand, and then we've got the dark blue for the water. So that's just like a minor touch-up that we can do, and then we just know that, you know, we have to pay attention to, when we move forward, that we don't make the same mistake where we go, okay, yeah, this is 4 colors, but, you know, one of the colors is not the background color. So anyway, that's going to require retouching some of this stuff, and then I got to think about this a little bit more in terms of the palette swapping and how that's all going to work. So I need to end the stream tonight now, so another short one, sorry, but hopefully things will calm down and we'll get to do some longer ones coming up soon. As always, if you want to reach me, you can find me on Twitter at Clairvis. You can reach me on Video Game Sage as Zelius. You can find me on Discord as Clairvis. Email me, zelius@gmail.com. Feel free to comment on the videos as they are posted in YouTube. And I will see you all, not Thursday because it is Thanksgiving here in the US, but Friday. So I will see you Friday. Hope you have a good Thanksgiving if you're celebrating this week. I hope you get to spend some time with friends and family, have lots of good food, and an enjoyable day. And I will catch you all next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.